We have some news today we need to get to. It looks like you have one less person to battle with. Senator Lindsey Graham has dropped out, saying he hit a wall. Does this mean there's more running room for you?
Well, I'd like a few other folks to hit some walls, so that would be helpful. But Lindsey is really focused his campaign on national security, and was a unique voice in some respects. National security is all that's being talked about.
That's all that we're talking about.
Lindsey's a strong voice on national security, and I hope he will continue to be that voice in the Senate.
That's what he says. He'd like to stay involved.
Yeah.
Speaking of national security, on Friday, President Obama at the White House gave his final year-end briefing to the media. I was there. And he was very bullish on his position on ISIS. And also, wow, that's an eye roll. And he also talked about refugees and how important it is for us to continue to allow Syrian refugees. On your website, you say that that is playing into ISIS's hands to bring the refugees here, including Christians.
Even
Why
more
is that?
specifically Christians.
Why?
Because you have the ancient church in this region of the world, and relocating Christians out of that region to America, the chances of any of these Christians going back is pretty close to zero. If you talk to and you listen to the clerics from the region, they don't want their people to be leaving. And most people from that region don't want to leave.
But they're being persecuted.
But they're being persecuted. So the answer is we have to provide safe haven for them in the region. And that includes no-fly zones. One of the reasons I support a no-fly zone is to create an opportunity for these people to be relocated in the region in a safe place. Secondly, we should be providing more support. For example, Jordan. Jordan has almost as many refugees as they have people. I mean, it's not that bad, but they're being flooded with refugees, and we have a very strong relationship with King Abdullah. But the bottom line is we have not provided any additional resources to Jordan to deal with this humanitarian crisis. There
are 4 of you in the race who are Catholic, and I spoke to another candidate and asked why should we vote for him over other Catholics. I'm going to ask you the same question.
Well, I don't know if you should necessarily vote for or against someone because they're Catholic. I think you need to look at whether the values that they're articulating are in line with your values, and particularly in moral and cultural issues, Catholic values.
But all 4 have pretty much the same positions on social issues. And how do you differentiate yourself? For example, on gay marriage.
Yeah, I would make the argument, well, the other 3 have basically said, once the court decision was handed down, they said, it's the law of the land, it's time to move on.
I think Marco Rubio said it was a bad law and that he would work to reverse it.
Yeah, and that's not what he said. He wouldn't really do anything on the federal level. Both Rubio, Christie, in fact, every other candidate, maybe with the exception of Mike Huckabee, have all said there really isn't much they can do on the federal level, or they would do on the federal level. I think that's a mistake. I think that when a court exceeds its authority and acts outside of the Constitution and destroys and makes illegitimate the idea of man-woman marriage, to me that is one that a president can't stand on the sideline and say, well, the court's made their decision. The court acts unconstitutionally. It's incumbent upon the President of the United States to uphold the Constitution, to do what he takes his oath to do, which is defend the Constitution. So I would disagree with all these other candidates that whether it's the issue of life, whether it's in marriage, the president has an obligation to go out and do what is constitutional, even though the court may say that it isn't.
And so what would you do?
What you can do is you can look at another decision that was made a year earlier by the court, which was to invalidate the Defense of Marriage Act, basically on the same grounds that they invalidated the state marriage laws, and say that the court acted outside of its constitutional authority, and then basically say, I will enforce the Defense of Marriage Act. That's one concrete step that the president can take to tell the court that they have outstepped their bounds.